Hi everyone, Molly here from LearnPedia. Today I have Harold with me, one of our current trainees who's shown amazing performance throughout our traineeship program so far. And it's always great to see how migrant engineers tie their overseas experience and they gain these new skills and knowledge based on Australian standards and codes, learn how to work with software packages and work on real life projects and just become a master at what they do. So, Harold, it's great to have you here today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Harold. I've been with ANZ Engineers for the traineeship program, and I've been designing timber frame residences around Melbourne while using Structural Toolkit and Space Gas, and also while applying the Australian codes in my design. And previously in the Philippines, I have experience with the construction and project management of mixed-use high-rise building in the residential, commercial, hospitality, and charity industries. That's a little bit about myself.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, let's just switch to some technical questions. The first question I've got listed here is that when working on extension renovation projects, if internal walls in the existing buildings are marked as to be removed on the architectural drawings, what are the items that you should consider in your design, Harold?
If there are walls to be removed in an existing building, the first thing to look for is, are those walls load-bearing or not load-bearing? And even if they are not load-bearing, they may be braced walls. These are things to look for. And for load-bearing walls, we need to look out for what are the systems it's supporting. For example, if a load-bearing wall is supporting girder trusses or rafters, because sometimes these girder trusses or rafters are supported by walls to reduce their span and increase their capacity. And also, sometimes we may encounter old houses where the roofing systems are conventional roof, like coupled roof. And if there are coupled roofing systems, we might need to look for props or struts, which support the underpurlin, which also supports the rafters. And also, we can consider ceiling systems and look for ceiling joists and hanging beams, which are also supported by load-bearing walls. The main idea here is to maintain the load path from the roof to the walls, to the bearers, and up to the foundation. Those are the things to consider with designing if there was to be removed in an existing building.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Harold. On to the next question. Can you explain how you consider the tree effect in your footing design? That's my favorite topic. You can just take a scenario like a mature tree and develop your answer around that.
This is a hard one.
A complicated one, I would say, right? There's a lot of ifs and buts.
If I'm going to consider tree effect for my design, the first thing to find out is if the tree is already in its mature height or if it's still growing. And to find this out, we can contact the arborist, or we can search on the internet or find a reliable website where we can see the mature height of trees. And lastly, we can refer to AS2870. There's a table there, table CH 5.3, if I remember correctly, where the mature height of different trees are listed there. And to tackle this, if we found out that a tree is already mature, we have two options to tackle it. First is to use a deep footing system. We may use board piers, screw piles, blade piles, just to get past the soil drying depth and to reach that depth of the soil where the tree or its roots won't have much effect to the foundation. And the next option is to reclassify the soil. We have a soil classification system with the surface movement corresponding to each classification. So we need to consider the tree drying effect of the soil, and we can add the initial surface movement to the additional surface movement and get a new classification based on that. For example, I have a class M soil, which corresponds to 20 mil to 40 mil soil movement. And then, for example, I got tree drying effect soil movement for like 30 mil. And if we add that, we'll get 70. And for 70 mil, we already have a new classification, which is class H2. I will design the foundation based on class H2. That's the soil reclassification that we can do. And also, we can also use Structural Toolkit for this. In Structural Toolkit, there's a tree effect design or tree effect consideration, and we can compute the additional movement from the drying effect of the soil. And in the Structural Toolkit, I can consider if the tree is to be removed, if it's already dying, or we just need to compute drying effect. Those are two options.
Perfect. And the computation in Structural Toolkit is based on Which code?
It's also based on AS2870.
AS2870. Perfect. Thanks, Harold. Now let's move on to the third question and the last technical question here. Harold, can you tell us what steps would you take if you noticed inconsistencies between the project documents provided to you, right? For example, let's say in the architectural drawings, you have a look at the site plan and you can see a tree is shown on the site plan. But then you look at the geotechnical report and the tree is not shown on the borehole location layout. There's no recommendation in the geotechnical report on the tree effect. How would you tackle this case?
Inconsistencies in plans or in the project needs to be communicated immediately to get the response that we need. For this scenario, I can send an email or confirmation email or RFI, request for information, to the geotechnical engineer, the architect, or the land surveyor to verify if there are trees around the vicinity or there were trees that were in the vicinity so that I can consider them in the footing design. What I need is to get a written recommendation from the geotechnical engineer and use that recommendation for the considerations in the soil profile.
Perfect, perfect. And would you use Google Maps or Google Earth or Near Maps in any stages of your investigation?
Yeah, actually, we can use that besides verifying the trees in the architectural plans or the proposed plans. We can use Google Earth or Google Maps to find the satellite view of the lot or the property and look for trees around. And also, the good thing about Google Maps and Google Earth is we can trace or we can see like different satellite screenshots or shots from
the historical images.
Historical images, yeah.
That's right. Perfect. Done. So the last question, Harold, is that what kind of challenges or opportunities are you looking for in the field, and how do you see yourself adding value to the team you'll be joining?
Managing different site conditions, which are common here in Australia, and adapting my international experience to Australian standards. So there are related topics, but not all of them are equally relatable. So that's one of the challenge, and to make sure that the structural solutions from the knowledge that I got from ANZ engineers from the traineeship is cost effective and can be implemented easily on site. So those are some of the challenges and the values that I can add to the companies, contribute to the growth of companies. Is I have a strong technical understanding of the structures, the codes, common methodologies, common materials here in Australia, and I can apply them in my design and in my implementation of the plans and the site works. And
yeah, and throughout the program, you've seen real life examples of, the consequences of not proposing the right detailing in your drawings and what can go wrong due to that sort of little error or mistake in the structural drawings, and you're aware of that. So now, it's like putting that mitigation strategy together to make sure the design that you provide ticks all the boxes to minimize the risk of something potentially going wrong on site. Okay, perfect. Done. Thank you so much, Harold, for sharing your experience. You've done amazing in the traineeship program. It's always rewarding to see our trainees, how they absorb the new knowledge and they implement it in their real life projects.
Thank you,
Again,
Molly.
it's a pleasure to have you here today. And if you're a hiring manager or industry professional watching this video and want to connect with a job-ready professional like Harold, feel free to reach out to him. Thanks, Harold.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you.